Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another edition of Anime Seasoning, the quarterly show that posits nothing smells that bad if you live in the garbage. I am your host, Creaky Floorboard, and it is time for us to delve yet again into the depths of the human psyche, marred by trauma, destruction, and big fucking titties. How could anyone even know that it's the summertime? He asked sarcastically, knowing that if he stepped outside, he'd melt. Oh, I know it's the summer, and with the changing of the seasons, it's time for a new crop of anime. And I have watched, and it's time for me to deliver my first impressions on some of that crap. As such, I have removed the traditional what the fluff hat from my pile of lavender-scented body pillows to stick little scraps of paper in it with the names of terrible anime on it. So let's get this party started. Mr. Love, Queen's Choice. I was very disappointed to learn that this show was not about Bruce Pritchard's brother Love character. Turns out Mr. Love was his father. You know, as I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, wow, this Otome show is incredibly well animated. And then I saw the Mappa logo pop up and I was like, nah, sneaky devils. Yes, this show is an anime Otome, a genre I do not understand. I mean, I get Otome games, like, I see the appeal there. I mean, that is a choose-your-own-boy venture. You get to select your own personal boy to engage with in sex contact, while maintaining strict chastity. The real fun is what happens in your sick little mind. But in an anime, the choice has already been made for you. Where's the fun in that? What's the appeal of having the anime industrial complex decide for you? Is this a communism? Is this that Orwell nightmare I keep hearing so much about? You know, there's actually a part in this where a character just pulls a copy of The Origin of Species off his shelf. Yeah, just doing a little bit of the light reading there, my guy. That's your choice? Is that your queen's choice? In all seriousness, though, this show has like 1,000 different plot lines going on. It's a complete mess. The main character nearly kisses the grill of an oncoming truck Chan twice in one episode. I feel like a lot of these plot lines would do better in a video game, you know, if they had like hours and hours to breathe, but a lot of this stuff has to be condensed to fit the anime format, and it's just nearly impossible to keep track of it all, so I stayed away. The real queen's choice is to not watch. Alright. Deca-Dence. So when I was watching episode 1 of Deca-Dence, I was like, alright, this is okay. And it had a couple of interesting concepts, some characters that were not too bad, just enough to get me to watch episode 2. And I was really worried before I started episode 2, because I was like, oh my god, to this point, everything has either been terrible, or like even the best stuff has been like, eh. But then episode 2 of Deca-Dence happened, and I went, oh, okay. Characters that I thought were only average in the first episode skyrocketed to very intriguing in episode 2. And I'm not going to spoil it. I'm sure most people have seen what the spoiler is at this point, but I'm still not going to get it out there just in case you don't know. Definitely watch it, because episode 2 completely turns everything on its head. It becomes a takedown of capitalism, which I'm all for, and the characters are also fun too. I guess those aspects are also important when you're watching a show. It can't just be a takedown of an ideology you hate. Suffice it to say, I'm totally here for Deca-Dence. I love what it's trying to do. It's been really fun so far. I'd say check it out. Ooh. Uzaki-chan wants to hang out. Okay, so when I first tried to watch Uzaki-chan, I was watching it on Funimation and the video was unavailable. And part of me just wanted to just move on, and I could have a fun little joke in here where I was like, oh, the video is unavailable, ha ha ha, that's my opinion of the show. And it would have been a funny joke, and it would have been perfect. But, no, it came back up, and I ended up watching it. And there's also, there's discourse surrounding Uzaki-chan wants to hang out, and I kind of want to throw my hat in the ring. I would throw this one, but there's still little scraps of paper on it, and I'd have to clean up. I ain't feeling like doing that right now. I also don't feel like talking about Uzaki-chan, but here we are. So there's a large subset of anime fans on the internet that are called perverts. okay? And these perverts will fight to the death their right to jack off to as many drawings of anime ladies as their shriveled up little sad sacks can muster. And naturally, since Uzaki's design is bad, there were a large group of people who didn't like it, and the perverts took exception to that. Interestingly, some of them seem to think that the dislike that the character design got was based around the fact that she looked like a little boy. Do you think so? Do you honestly think that people take a look at this character design and honestly think, man, I'd be a lot more attracted to this character if she wasn't so fucking masculine? Because I don't think that's it. I think, and I could be wrong, but I'm not, that it's not so much that she looks like a little boy. I think it's the little part. I think it's just the little part that's doing it for people. Just looking like a child, I think, is what's sticking in the collective craw. To which I was informed, Chris, girls can look little, but have big tits. She has mature boobs. Leave my wank material alone. Fair enough. You're absolutely right. There are women, adult women, who can be short in stature and have large breasts. I've dated a few. But do you think that that's what they're going for? Do you think they want Uzaki to be portrayed as an adult woman? This character with her childlike expressions, childlike appearance, childlike snaggletooth and demeanor. Do you think they want her to come across as an adult? Or do you think the only reason they say she's 18 is because if they didn't, it'd be fucking creepy? It is still fucking creepy, but it'd be a lot worse if it didn't say anything. Well, if you don't like it, don't watch. Fine, perverts. Enjoy your gross loophole. Japan Sinks 2020. Masaki Yuasa already had a hit this year with Keep Your Hands Off Aizoken. Unfortunately, through no fault of his own, it's been tainted a bit by the fact that the mangaka behind Aizoken is a fucking sex creep. But you can never keep a visionary director down, especially not one with Yuasa's track record. Netflix has his latest series, Japan Sinks 2020, available to stream, and I watched it really just because it was from him. He always has interesting takes on different topics, and I was curious to see how he would handle natural disaster. I like how the first episode follows a family of four as they are all in very different locations reacting to this incredible event in very different ways. I like how they come together towards the end, but what I really like is how weighty the animation feels. Like, everything feels grounded. It feels real. Like, in spite of some crazy stuff that happens in it, like, there's a part where bodies literally rain from the sky, and it still feels real, and that's really impressive to pull off. As of this recording, I've watched a few episodes of it, and my jaw's dropped multiple times. The show does not mess around. Like, characters die almost unceremoniously, and those deaths can hit. I would recommend it, but be warned, this show doesn't play. Peter Grill in The Philosopher's Time. A man wants to be a well-known hero in a fantasy land to impress his love interest's father. He wishes to prove to him that he's worthy of her hand in marriage. And so he will fight to become the strongest in the land and protect everyone around him. Which is the nice way of saying it. In reality, what he wants to do is have sex with her. And the reason why he wants to have sex with her is because she doesn't know anything about sex. Like, she doesn't even know what it is. What a guy. And it turns out, because he's such a strong, capable boy, all the other women in the land fall head over heels for him. And is this show about him rejecting their increasingly aggressive advances? Well, it is for a little bit, at least until the end, when he cheats on his girlfriend with two monster girls. Oh, but don't worry, it's played for a joke. Infidelity. Yeah, skip this one. Rent a Girlfriend. So this show is really badly named, namely, because it conjures up images of living in a landfill. But Rent a Girlfriend isn't that bad. It doesn't belong in a landfill. It's more landfill adjacent. It's not great, but I was imagining way worse, so points, I guess. I can't even tell you what a relief it was to learn that the main character of this series was 20 years old. That's so incredibly rare. He's like an old man. So I made a pretty grievous error with this show in that I allowed myself to be brought into it somewhat based off of the fact that I had a much different idea of how things were going to go. Whoops. See, I thought the show was going to be about the main character getting dumped and then being so stressed out by the heartbreak that it leads him down a rabbit hole of, like, scam dating sites. But that's not what it's about. And hey, just because they didn't go with my clearly superior idea that I just came up with doesn't mean the idea they came up with is bad, necessarily. So what did they come up with? Well, it turns out he gets dumped by his girlfriend, and he then gets off to the vision of her getting railed by another dude. Now, I'd never kink shame, but, That's a yikes from me. There were some okay moments in this, but as I was watching it, I could just feel my life essence just draining from my body. And those okay moments only succeeded in reminding me that life is fleeting, and it's not worth wasting my time on Rent-A-Girlfriend. So I didn't watch further. Hope you like cynicism. Super Hexeros. Okay. So when I was learning about this season's new shoes, I was very pleased to learn that yet another tame hentai found its way onto a legitimate streaming service. Funimation, just nailing it lately. If you've been watching my content for any amount of time, you know I don't like stupid sex shows that involve high schoolers. They're pretty much always bad, and this one's no different. But the story is the main character is a generic male character, so who even gives a shit? The real prize is the fact that he has a childhood friend, and her name is Hoshino. And Hoshino is super distant. She was super outgoing when she was a kid, but since she's reached the ripe old age of high school, has become frigid and distant, and she's like that to everybody, and it's the talk of the school. A grill? Not liking the boys? Not in my high school anime. But fret not, because we learn that there's monsters afoot, and these monsters steal people's libido. And we find out that Hoshino was attacked by these monsters when she was younger. So, you would assume that means she's lost her sex drive. Hoshino was attacked by these monsters, that much is true, but they didn't steal her sex drive. It turns out, when she was 11 years old, the ripe old age of elementary school, the monsters just couldn't absorb it all. She had so much, her sex drive was so voluminous that the monsters were incapable of absorbing all of it. So it turns out she's horny as fuck. She's always been horny as fuck, but she changed her personality on purpose because she's embarrassed at the fact that she was more horny when she was a literal child. Fuck this series. Gibbiate, however the hell you pronounce it, I don't care. A horrible disease has turned some humans of the future into CGI monsters. 2 samurai from the Edo period of Japan are brought to that future to fight these monsters. The modern-day humans who haven't been changed live in refugee camps, and on paper, this series sounded great. But in execution, it's incredibly fucking boring. The 2 samurai characters are bland, uninteresting, not worth your fucking time. The show reminded me a lot of Kagaster, which is the CGI bug show on Netflix, although at this point I couldn't even tell you why. I'm so far removed from having written these notes, and I was clearly writing them in a state of disheartened disinterest. I do remember, however, one part where the female lead says to the samurai, "Everybody in my camp is a really nice person," and then they go inside the camp and everybody immediately starts giving the 2 of them the side eye and accusing them of having mental illness because of how they're dressed. What nice people. Suffice it to say, I was bored, and if I could sum up GB8 in a word, it would be so there's my recommendation. ReZero 2. So I had questioned myself on whether or not I should even include ReZero 2 as part of this. And anime seasoning is usually for new series and my first impressions of them. But I figured, like I said earlier, this season's kind of light on shows. And also, ReZero, it's been a while since the first season to where it feels fresh again. It's my fucking show. I can do whatever I want. So we're going to talk about ReZero 2. I'll start by saying that I really love ReZero Season 1. I love the characters, I love the concept almost immediately when I first started watching it. And it also came at a really good time when isekai was like really overdone and really not interesting, and it was a breath of fresh air, and it kind of feels like that again, to where isekai is still, and has been, oversaturated, bland, and boring, and ReZero is exactly the shot in the arm that it needs. I find it kind of amazing how fresh you can make a stale genre by just having some good characters. ReZero Season 2 picks up where Season 1 left off, and it does a great job of reintroducing the story, the world, and the characters without killing the pace. It introduces new villains who I think are significant threats. I'm very excited to see how it all plays out. I have opened my heart up to be hurt by this series yet again, and I cannot wait. Lapis ReLights. This show is essentially worthless. It's a magical girl series set in a school. The plot is girls, the concept is girls, the aesthetic is girls. No character, no intrigue, just girls. I remember watching the OP and kind of marveling at the fact that there's like 30 uniquely designed girls in this show. And since the first episode did such a bang-up job characterizing 4, I was like, man, the other 26 are in capable hands. The first episode is 24 minutes in length, and it takes about 20 of those minutes to introduce any conflict, and the conflict introduced doesn't make any sense. You see, the school is segregated into houses, a la insert young adult fiction joke here. I was going to make the obvious reference to Harold Potash in The Philosopher's Turf, but didn't want to do that. I was going to use the Divergent factions, but that just sort of felt depressing. I suppose if there is any show that works as an analogous series, it would be Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. And in this series, our main girls are the Slifer Slackers, and also the main character who gets shoved into that faction for reasons I still haven't been able to figure out, but I'm not watching the show anymore, so it hasn't really occupied too much of my brain space. Don't worry too much about me. But I did find it weird at the time because it's based on rank, and they tell, like, her friend group, like, if they don't pick their grades up, they're gonna get expelled. Okay, so why is the main character in this group? Like, usually if you're a new student or you're starting any semester, don't you usually start with, like, a 100 average, and then your work can only bring it down? Not the opposite? I guess it doesn't even really matter. Like I said, you get 3 minutes to even react to all of this, and they go 20 minutes with, like, this being the case, but nobody saying anything about it. It literally is an 11th hour twist, and it's just so out of note. My brain is melting. It's a good thing they taught me how magical volleyball works. Skip. Monster Girl Doctor. God. Oh, this season just went full bore on stuff I don't like, huh? You get it? Bore. It's like a cry for help. Monster Girl Doctor is so brazen. It's smut and it doesn't care, so respect, I guess. The first sound you hear in this show is a woman moaning. And the first shot is a man with his hand on boob in bra, and he ain't checking for lumps. because then he moves on to giving her an ear massage, and of course this causes her to blush and moan and drool, because as we all know, women go to the doctor because it's the best place possible to achieve sexual release. In reality, through ear scritches and copping a feel, he has discovered that this woman is pregnant. He then goes on to explain that it is a procedure exclusive to Minotaurs, and pregnancy can be determined through it. And I just went, what? And then I went, oh yeah, because I remember that from the myth. Don't you remember from the Greek myth where Theseus escaped the labyrinth at Knossos by giving the Minotaur a nipple pinch and an ear rub? Naturally, I discovered almost instantaneously that I wasn't going to be wasting my time with this show, but hey, you know what? At least the characters are definitively adults. That shouldn't have to be a bar that needs to be cleared, but there you go. That's life in the garbage treatment facilities. God of High School. This is one of the better shows of the season, and I'm still kind of iffy towards it. Like, I'm still trepidatious about watching new episodes of it. It's done by MAPPA. They're showing off at this point. Like, this is the series they want to flex with. Makes sense. The show is, in its entirety, a tournament arc, which is pretty slick, but in order for a show like that to really work, the characters need to be standout, and we're kind of half and half in that regard. Like, some of them are alright, some of them are fun, others are incredibly flat and not even worth your time, and there you go, that's what you get. That's the whole show. If you're gonna watch it, you're probably just watching it for the fights and the choreography and the animation, and that's fair. That's fair. Hope that the other elements get better, but I'm at a point now where I've watched half a season's worth of episodes of this show, and they've only just started introducing some plot to go along with these fights, and it's guff. Complete guff. They've introduced conspiracy elements, mysticism, and actual gods and magic, and it's just nonsense. But, I mean, the concept is pretty goofy to start. It's like, hey, our goal is to find the strongest high schooler in South Korea, and all of our entrants are 24 years old. Whoa! It's nonsense, but not even, like, in a good way. Like, it's not controlled chaos, it's just regular chaos. But I'm still watching it, so... There's only one little piece of paper left. Is it a good one to end on? Yeah, it is. Misfit of Demon King Academy. I didn't plan that. That's pretty good, because that was my least favorite show of the whole season. That might surprise you, right? You would think that the pseudo-porn would be my least favorite series in any given season, but surprise, fuckers. I hate this one a lot more. I do not like people who are cruel for the sake of it. Hot takes only on this channel. So it would stand to reason that I don't really like to associate with characters who are cruel for the sake of it. But that's not full stop. You know, there can be some exceptions to that. I think there can be characters who are cruel but can have some nuance to them. Or perhaps their cruelty can be played for jokes in some series. I think Einzel Gone from Overlord is a good example, because he's just a dude fucking around in a video game. His actual reactions to what's happening around him are very different. Tanya the Evil. Tanya's a cruel character, but the characters around her are endearing. Misfit of Demon King Academy has none of that. The main character is cruel for the sake of it, and everybody around him is either pompous, stupid, or a doughy-eyed dope that can't even think for herself. There is an extended scene where the main character kills a man over and over again in a horrible way because he was full of himself. I don't know what this show has against the character of Zepes, but it is awful to him. It's like the artists were like, I have designed this character, and the showrunner was like, I'm just gonna ruin that person. I'm gonna end his life. And then I'm going to bring him back and I'm going to do it again. And that's exactly what happens. The main character kills and resurrects this guy over a dozen times, and his death is extremely violent. Like, he makes his heart explode 12 times. And finally, the Zepes' older brother comes along to, like, hey, I'm going to stick up for you. Only that's not what he's here to do, because he thinks Zepes is complete scum, and he's only interfering because in dying a whole bunch, Zepes has made the family look bad. Oh boy. And so the main character responds to this situation by killing Zepes again, turning him into a zombie and then ordering the older brother to kill him. Only I'm not gonna do that to you. I just wanted to humiliate the two of you a whole bunch. So that's what you get for being overconfident. I hated this show. I hated it so much. Like, I know that's the point, too. I know that the whole point is that he's the Demon King, so of course he's gonna be a cruel asshole, but maybe through the power of, I don't know, loving the dope character, the vacant girl, perhaps falling in love with her will set him down the path of righteousness. Nah, I ain't gonna stick around for it. The show is mean-spirited and shitty, and that's it. Thus concludes another rousing edition of Anime Seasoning. I hope you'll join me again in the fall, or likely the late fall, based on how many shows are coming next season. Oh my god. For what will most likely be 1 or 2 shows that are worth anything, and a whole bunch of garbage that I can complain about, because it's the circle of trash. Or maybe in reality the trash was me all along. In any case, thank you friends, fellow trash people, for watching this. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, sub to the channel, and if you want to be directly responsible for the creation of my empire, you can head over to the Patreon, peep the perks. My Twitter and Insta are going to be in the description, as well as my books. They're going to be linked too. I write stuff, guys. So until next time, I've been your host, Creaky Floorboard, and thank you for playing along.